Hi guys, welcome back to HaryPhamDev channel. Today in this video, I will help you to build a login register system using Node.js platform. But before we jump into coding, take a look at the final project we will build. This is a beautiful login page. If I try to log in with an email that doesn't exist, I will get a flash message error at the top. Or if I try to log in with a real email, but I enter the wrong password, I also get a flash message error as well. And this time, I will try to log in with my account. If I successful login, it will direct me to the home page. The home page is just a simple page display my name. And if I try to go back to the login page, it cannot redirect me back to the home page because I already logged in unless I click the Lockout button. I want to create a new account, so I will go to the register page. This is the register screen. To create a new account, I need to fill up all the information, the full name, the email, the password and confirmation password. I will create a demo account. If I successfully create an account, it will direct me to the login page. I will copy this email. I will log in with the account I just created. And here is the account I just created, and this is the project we will build in this video. If you want to run this project right now, you can get it from my GitHub page, and I already created a video to guide you how to set up it. And now, time for coding. The first thing we need to do is to clone a quick start Node.js project from my GitHub page. It's just a simple Node.js project, a Hello World app. So why do I have to do this? Because I assume that all of you are not familiar with Node.js. In a quick start project, I already organized the project by the MVC design pattern. It's really helpful if you want to scale or maintain your app. It will save you a lot of time and effort. After that, open the project with your IDE. For me, I open it with WebStorm. Then, we need to install our packages in the package.json file. Run the command npm install. Wait a few minutes for the process to complete. You will see a node modules be added at the top. In the package.json file, I use .env package to load environment variables from a .env file to process.env, EJS package to install the view engine, Express is the backend framework, Nodejs package to help us automatically restart the Node application when has file changes. Bubble packages are compiler to convert all JavaScript ES5 and ES6 together so we don't have errors during compiling our Node.js app. So how to run this project? We simply run the command npm start. By default, this project will run at the address localhost with the port 8080. I will open it with the browser. As I said before, it's just a Hello World app. If I redirect to a route like login, we will get an error because we're not set up yet. What we will do now is to design the login and register page using HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap 4. Take a look at the final project we will build. This is the login page. To create this page, first we need to handle a route for login page. Go back to your IDE. This is the structure of our project because I organized it with the MVC design pattern, so we already separate the view, the controller, and the model of our app. Actually, when we run the command npm start, the Node app will run the server.js file first. It will create an Express instance, configure the EJS as the default view engine, init or the web browse, and run our app at the port we get from .env file. If we don't have the .env file, our app will run at the port 8080 instead. So to add a new route for a new page, open the routes.js file in the routes folder. I will define a new route for the login page. router.get/login. After that is a function to handle this route. I define an arrow function with two parameters, request and response. This function simply returns a string message login, response.send login. Let's start at the browser. If I visit the login page, we will get a login message. But I still handle the logic of our app in the route file. It isn't the MVC design pattern. We need a controller to handle the logic of our app. I will create the login controller file in the controller folder. In this file, I define a function to get the login page. To define a function with EXE syntax, I use the left variable with the name of a function equal an arrow function. I will also pass two parameters, request and response. We need to export these functions in this file so we can access them from anywhere in our app. Modules.exports equal an object because I want to export as many functions as I want. In the getLoginPage function, I return response.send hello login from controller message. In the web file, to use a controller, we need to import the controller at the top of this file. Import login controller from controller folder. Instead of return response.send a message, we change to get the function in the controller file, login controller, and the function we want to get. Let's try on the browser. The result is the same, but we successfully separate the viewer and the controller. But it's still a boring page. I want to get a dynamic HTML page. It's time to create an EJS file. In the view folder, I create a logins.exs file. Then copy all the things in the homepage file and paste to this file. In this EJS file is the structure of a HTML page. I will change the title to know which page we go to, login page. This file also imported the Bootstrap 4 framework, so we no need to do extra work. In the body tag, I will set the message to hello from login page EJS file. In the controller file, instead of return a string message, this time we return a dynamic HTML page. So change the code to respond.render the name of the file you want to render. For me is login.exs. This is the login page designed with the Bootstrap 4. It used the Bootstrap free layout with the left side an image larger than the right side, the input fields. We will design this layout right now. In the body, the first thing we use is a div tag with the container class. A div tag with container class inside it. Then use a div tag with row class. To have the left and the right side, we use two separate div tags. The first for the left side, bigger than the right side, so I use column 7 class, the right side with column 5 class. I often add color to a div tag, so it will easier to design a page layout. Let's add the red for the first div and the green for the second. We don't see any color in here. To write a CSS class, we define them in the style.css file as the CSS folder. I forgot to define the red and green class. Just simply add a border for each class. Let's try again our page. Now we see the red and green border. The left side is an image. To do this, we will set a div with a background is an image. In this div tag, we add a new class, image left. Go to the style.css file, .image left. We will set the link to the image, position and size for our image. Delete the h1 tag. We finished the left side. With the right side, we need Bootstrap 4 inputs. Go to Form Bootstrap 4. This is the inputs field we need, a simple email and password inputs. Click on Copy to copy this block code. Paste the block code in the right side div. I also add a merchant tab class, so the tab and the login form are not too close together. Delete all the small tag and the div from check. I also change the email input ID to email and add the name field. We do the same thing with the password input. Change the submit button to login. I use a HR tag to have a horizontal line. Add a tag to create a new account. The attribute href equals /register. Another a tag to return homepage. href equals /. Let's start our app. If I click on create a new account, I get an error, can't get this route. So the next thing we will do is handle the register page. In the web route file, we will add a controller to handle the register page. Router.get/register, register controller, get register page. In the controller folder, we create a register controller.js file. Let getRegisterPage equal an array function. This function will return the register page. Response.renderRegister.eject. We also need to export this function, module.import, an object that includes this function. In the web file, we import the register controller so we can access all its functions. We create a register.eject file in the view folder. Copy the login file, then paste to the register file. Change the title to register page. We need the full name input. Copy the email div. Change type from email to text. Set the full name ID and the name field. Copy the password div to create the confirmation password. I got an error because I forgot to close the div doc somewhere. To solve this error, put two closing div doc before the end of the body tag. We are done with the design for the login and register page. Next, we need to create a database to save user data. In this video, I use MySQL. Open MySQL workbench. I choose to create a local instance. Right-click, click on Create a Schema. It is the name of our database. I set the name to Demo Tutorial. Then click on Apply, Apply and Finish. This is the schema I just created. We also need to create the users table in this schema. Click on Table, right-click to create a new table. The table name is Users. This table will save user data, so it has to have 4 fields. The first is the ID. It is the primary key, not null, and auto increase. The second is the email, and then the password and full name. Click on Apply to save this table. We already installed MySQL package to connect to our database. The first thing we do is to create a .env file. Copy the .env example file, change the name to .env and paste at the root folder. Open the .env file. We will configure all parameters to connect to the database. DB host is localhost, DB port default is 3306. If you run your database in a different port, you will change this parameter. DB name is the name of your schema you want to connect to. Demo tutorial is the database I just created. DB username is the account you use to log into your database. I use the root account. DB password, the password to log into that account. For me, it is 123456. Next, we need to create a connection to the database. In the config folder, create a new file, connectdb.js. I import MySQL from MySQL 2 package. I define a connection parameters equal a MySQL connection. We have to pass an object with parameters to connect to the database. The first parameter is the database host. For security reasons, we shouldn't use plain text, so we get the host from .env file, process.env.dbhost. Second is the database, the schema's name, process.env, db name. Third is user, username to log in to the database, process.env.db username, and then the password, process.env.db password. How to check our connection? I will use the connection function in MySQL package. If we connect successfully to our database, we will see the message database connected in the console. To use the connection, we export the connection function. module.export equals the connection function. To test the connection, in the server.js file, we simply import the connection function and restart the Node server. We get an error, a set denied for user using no password. To fix this error, copy this line code and paste right at the top. We get this error because the Node server doesn't know where to get the .env parameters. The .env package will load environment variables for us. Restart the Node server. In the console, we see database connected message. It means we successfully connect to the database. We no need to import the connection in the server file, so I remove the connection in this file. To handle the register page, in the form tag, we add the method post and the action /register. In the web route, we need a new route for the register with the method post, router.post/register. I also use register controller and a new function create new user. In the register controller, we will define new function. Let create new user equal an error function. I will console.log the body which Node.js server receives if a client submits the register form. From again our app, reload the page. I create a new user and click on the submit button. In the console, you can see a lot of information about the request we just sent. We don't know which information is useful and we only care about the input fields client sent to the server. To make it simple, we will install the bodybusser package. npm install --save bodybusser. In the server file, to use bodybusser, I embed it at the top. I config the bodybusser to the JSON format, so it will be easier to check information. Let's try again our app. This time, the request.body return a JSON object. Include all value of input fields I just sent to the server. If I change the fullname ID to fullname ABC and register a new user, the result is the same. It means that in the HTML form, the server will get the name attribute, not the ID attribute, so don't forget to set the name for your input fields. But before we create a new user, we need to validate the information sent to the server if we had any errors. To validate and display errors, we install the following packages. I create an empty array to save errors. A new variable validation errors is to set to equal the validation result we get from Express. We will check the condition that if validation errors is empty or not. If it is not empty, we convert it into a JavaScript object, then loop through it. We push error to the error array we created before. Then we use Flash to display errors and redirect back to the register page. To customize the display errors, open validation folder, then our validation file. I import the check function from Express Validator. a validate register array to check the input and report any errors before creating the user. The email is valid if it is a real email. If it isn't a real email, we display invalid email message. Next, the password is valid if its length is more than 2 letters. With the confirmation password, we need to check if it is the same with the password input or not. In the web route file, before we create a new user, we will validate the inputs, so import auth from auth validation. Then add auth.validate register in this route. To display errors, we also change the view. To handle the logic of the view, we need to use EJS syntax. I will check the condition that the error's flash message is empty or not. If it isn't empty, I run a loop function and display error message. Restart Node server and check it works or not. Reload the page. We get an error. Errors is not defined. This happens because we only define the errors flash if user submits the register form. What if the user still doesn't submit the form? We need to set the errors flash to empty. We render the register page and pass the errors flash to the view. We get another error. Request.flash is not a function. To fix this error, open the server.js file. We need to set up the flash for the Node server. I create a new account, only fill the email input, then submit. It works. Let's check the confirmation password. 123123. Something wrong here. It still displays error message although I enter the same password. I made a silly mistake. Remember to set the same name for your input and your Express validator. Let's try again. After we take your input, we will create a new user. To create a new user, the controller will send data to the services. Remember that unlike PHP or Java, when we use an API or use the database, JavaScript is a asynchronous language. It means that we can run two or more processes at the same time, but we need to wait for every single thread to complete before we get the final result. Because the action connects to the database takes time, so we need to wait until we receive the data we needed, then redirect back to the login page. In the services folder, I create the register service file. We also need to import the register service in the register controller. The function create new user gets user as the input parameter, then return a promise. To handle the exception, we use try and catch. Reset the exceptions. Before we create a new user, we also need to hash the user password. The easiest way to do that is to install bcrypt.js package, npm install --save bcrypt.js. Because we use user email to log in, so we have to keep the user email is unique. We will check the email if a new user is exists in the database or not. I create a true or false check variable. This parameter depends on the check user email function. Let's create this function with user email is the input parameter. We need to connect to the database. To do that, use the query function. The first parameter is SQL query. Select all from users where email equal a question mark. The question mark is the value we pass to the second parameter, email, then a callback function with errors and rows return. If we have errors, just simply reject that error. We also need to check the record we found. Only return true if the rows.length greater than 0. I will console the log the check variable and create a new user. Open MySQL Workbench. I need to create a user email in the database. I enter the email that exists in the database and change to a new email. Let's see what we get in the console. A true for the email exists in the database and false for the email not exist. If the user email doesn't exist in the database, we will hash the user password. Create a data variable equal an object. Notice that this object we already hashed the user password. We need a connection to the database. The query is insert into the user table, set equal question mark. The question mark is the data variable and a callback function. The admin@gmail.com already exists in the database. If I click on the register button, I hope we will see a flash message error. I will create a new test account, full name, test account, email a@gmail.com, 123123, and register. Refresh the database. This is the test account I just created. The password also be hashed. We have completed the registration feature. To authenticate request, we need to install passport and passport local packages. npm install --save passport local. In the login view, we need to add a new route to handle the login form. Method equal post and the action equal /login. In the web route file, we import the passport middleware from passport package. Add a new route to handle action post login. Router the post /login. Passport authenticate the local strategy and an object to tell passport what to do. If we successfully authenticate a user, we redirect the user to the homepage. If the user isn't authenticated, We redirect back to the login page. We also enable flash message. In controller folder, we create a controller for passport middleware. We create a passport strategy for authenticating with a username and passport. Pass request to callback set to true, so we can use request in callback function. First, we need to find a user by the email input. If the user doesn't exist, we return a flash message. The user without email doesn't exist. If we can find the user, we continue to compare the password input and the hash password. If they match, we save info user into the web session. In the services folder, create login service file. I also import login service in the controller so we can use the login service function. The first function is find user by email with email is parameter. The second function is compare password. We also export this function by module.export an object. In the find user by email function, we return a promise. To connect to the database, we need to import connection from ConnectDB. Then connect.query. The query is select all from user table where email equal question mark. The value is the email parameter and a callback function. Because rows is an array object, so to get the user by email, we only return the first item. To compare user password, we use the compare function in Bootstrap. If its match return true, it means that the input password is correct. And if the its match return false, we return the password entered is incorrect. Passport will maintain persistent login sessions. In order for persistent sessions to work, the authenticated user must be serialized to the sessions. and deserialize when subsequent requests are made. In the login service, we create file user by ID. In the web browser, we init the passport logo. In the server, to use passport middleware, we need to configure the Express server. Restart the Node server. I also delete all data in my database. Let's create a new user. I successfully log in and redirect to the homepage, but I still can redirect to the login although I logged in before. To fix this error, we need to check that client is logged in or not. In the web browser file, we need to change the homepage file. the homepage controller returns the homepage.ejs and the user logged in. We can get the user by using request.user. In the homepage.ejs, I want a message welcome user, a full name of the user logged in, so I use EJS syntax with the user parameter I get from homepage controller. I also create a Lockout button so we can destroy the current session user logged in. I add two new functions, check logged in and check logged out. If user logged in, so they can't log in again. If user log out, I mean the user are not logged in. They can visit the login page, but the home page is not. The function post logout will handle the logic for logout button. If a request isn't authenticated, we redirect to the login page. If authentication succeeds, the next handler will be invoked and the request.user property will be set to the authenticated user. In the post logout function, we delete session and redirect to the login page. I don't see the flash message. To add the flash message, open the login.ejs. Copy all this div from register form and paste right here. Reload the page. We got an error. Errors is not defined. To fix this error, open login controller. We have to pass the flash message error to the view. In the login service, I also change reject to resolve so we can get this message as a view. We get another error. To solve this error, just simply change this function.